All right. So today's session is on documentation. Now, in terms of software development lifecycle, walk you through two different approaches. One is called waterfall, and one is called agile. And then further, agile have agile Scrum, agile XP, and agile Kanban. Okay. Now, when you work in a waterfall environment, because your business users they know that this project is not going to facilitate any change, and they are pretty certain with their requirements, so we only need to define one functional requirement document. We only need to create one functional requirement document which will have everything, which will have all the functionality explained with all the process flows and everything. In terms of business documentation which you're going to receive in both cases, in most of the projects, you once you join the project, you will have a business requirement document. So in pretty much any approach you're going to work, there's going to be a business requirement document which is made available to you. Now, what is a business requirement document? We'll be covering that, but I'll give you a very high level brief about it. A business requirement document is a document which is going to highlight business need. Now, that does not mean that whatever they are mentioning in that BRD, that is definitely or certainly going to be designed or developed. Of course, they would have around 80% to 90% surety that this is what we want and this is what you need to deliver. But still, once we receive BRD, we have multiple meetings to break down that business requirement into functional requirement. As I mentioned, that your business requirement will be broken down into functional as well as non-functional requirement. And the most important thing is going to be your analysis, okay, which is basically going to define the scope of your project, if whatever mentioned in the BRD can be delivered within the given time frame or not, and within the available resources and budget, if it is possible that we can deliver. And BRD is going to be very high level. Again, it is not going to provide you too many details. It is going to only show you what is need of business. So for instance, we were discussing Amazon project, Amazon website. So in case if a BRD is going to be written for an Amazon project, give me 1 second, guys. So business requirement document is going to present a high level business need. So for example, if we talk about Amazon project, what does Amazon offer? Amazon is a e-commerce platform which have buyers and sellers all bound together, where people can sell their product, people can buy products. So that is the major need. So they would simply highlight within Amazon what is that they want, what kind of platform it is going to be, what kind of user base it is going to have, and then what is going to be a very high level functionality. For example, one of the function is checkout or payment using credit card, debit card, and all that. They are not going to define that in this phase. In business requirement document, they're going to only define their need that we want a checkout function using multiple payment methods. Now, as a PS, once we gather this document, in some cases you will be helping business to design this document. In most cases, you'll already have a business requirement document or a business use case document or a project charter document in most cases. So whenever you join a project as a BA, it is very important to perform few things. So when you join new project, what you need to do is, these are 3-4 steps you need to take care. And if you're able to do it, It will sort out many issues a new person or a new joinee is going to have. It will cater to all those problems. Why? Because performing as an analysis mean, for instance, when I was working in DST brokerage solution, or let's say I was working in Barclays Capital, I from day one performed as an analysis to define what is Barclays first of all. So Barclay is an investment bank. They offer different types of investment accounts. Where are you going to work? I'm going to work in investment banking department of Barclays. What is their role? As I said, they offer different types of investment solution, investment plans. They offer different types of advisory services. They open different accounts for you. They handle these accounts for you, as well as you can handle your own account. And the third thing is which team I'm going to work for. So for example, my team name was Fin Crime Team. Financial intelligence crime team or financial crime unit is going to be there in every single bank. Every bank is going to have a fin crime or financial crimes team. And then the fourth thing I had to understand is what they want. So that was the question mark, that what is that, why they hired us, why they built up this whole team, and what they want us to deliver. So when you start understanding the role of your financial crime team, as well as the role of users who are going to work, as well as the operations this department is going to have, once you define all these things, you will have answer to so many questions you have. You don't even need to talk to your manager and all that you can take from this document analysis. First day when you join the project, they will onboard you. Onboarding process means that they will give you access to your email ID, they will give you access to Jira, they will give you access to shared drive or a folder where all their documents are made available. You simply need to go and find out your own department's document. If there's any BRD available, if there's any functional document, project charter document available, start reading it, try to understand what they are already doing. And then the last thing, once you understand what is your team, what are their operations, what are they going to deliver, you need to understand the existing process. Okay, the goal of the IT team is basically to automate different operations using different solutions or platforms. So before using that platform, before developing that platform, what were they doing? What are their manual processes? So when you start understanding their manual processes, manual operations, things will become very easy for you. For example, let me give you example of Barclays project. When I joined the project, financial crime team is basically a team which is supporting the investment banking side to perform different types of threat analysis, jurisdiction analysis, fraud analysis, finding out if any customer is involved in any illegitimate activities, any fraudulent activities. So we were basically helping them identify different threats within investment banking department accounts. Now, usually this project, when we joined, they said that we want you to design an application called Financial Intelligence Global Search Tool. Financial Intelligence Global Search Tool. So by the name of it, it's very obvious that we want us to create a search application where they can search multiple accounts, their transaction, customer information, and from further on they can print report using the system. Now, why they need it? That was the first question we had to ask. We had to understand what is their problem statement. So I simply had to go to BRD and review BRD and found out that this is the reason they're going to have this application design. And the reason basically was that this financial crime team, they get requests from FBI or any other investigation agencies, bureaus, different bureaus, government bureaus, central intelligence agencies. Mostly they used to get request C13A request form. Then there's a C14A request form. Basically, whenever a request form like that comes from an intelligence agency, that means they are asking information on that customer. So they'll send you a request form for, let's suppose, Imran Rafiq, who is the account holder of investment banking department in Barclays, and they are requesting three things, three basic information about Imran. One is Imran's personal information. Okay. Second is Imran's account information. And third is his recent transactions, which include multiple type of transactions. For example, check payments, check deposits, journal entries, any trade he had made, as well as any settled trades. So these were five different and then wire transactions. Trades and settled trade is one category. So wire transactions. These are five major information that a bank need to submit back to these investigation agencies. Now, whenever this request was coming, the investment banking business users, investment banking intelligence department business users, they used to call the IT team or the database management team of FinCrime and request them, can you pull up information from Imran Rafiq, and we want personal information. Within personal information, we want his name, his date of birth, his social security number, his domicile, his country of birth, his residence, country of residence. Three, four other things were also requested. Same way, if it is the company account, company, then we need the company certificate information, certificate of incorporation, registration date, same way the address of that company where it is registered and all that. And in account information, they would request account open date, account status right now, account ID and numbers and all that. In transaction, they will request these five transactions, and further within these five transactions, they categorize. Let's suppose if they want wire transaction information, then within wire, what information they are specifically looking for. So for example, they are looking for wire ID, they are looking for transaction date, they are looking for wire amount, they are looking for the currency in which wire is being sent, they are looking for the country who's sending it, the receiving country, the correspondent bank who's working in between. They're looking for Swift code and Swift message. So these are all the information. They would simply request the FinCrime team, and they have to manually go into the database and perform all these queries, and then find out this data one by one, put it into this template, and then submit it back. Now, every day, investment banking department gets so many requests. Fulfilling all these requests on timely manner was becoming very hectic and very problematic for the team itself. So what they decided, why can't we bring or we design an application, a search bar application, where we can bring all the data of from accounts, from transaction, from personal information, and we can integrate all these data sources into this application. And by clicking or writing down Imran Rafiq and clicking on search, the information of Imran Rafiq or any other customer whose name is Imran Rafiq, their information can be provided here. And from there, if you select the person you're looking for, further the screen will show all these information which were requested. So this was the goal of my project. This was the reason we designed this application. When I joined the project, they already had a BRD, and BRD was defining their problem. BRD was defining what is the scope of the project. BRD was also highlighting what is the high level business and data requirement. And then BRD was also highlighting the major issues or risk assumptions, dependencies, which we might face in terms of implementing this solution, in terms of developing the solution, what kind of challenges we can face. So it's a very high level 5 page document. That was the one document which was given to us. So BRD is going to be made available to you in most cases. Otherwise, if you're joining from very start, from very let's suppose initiation phase, when your project is not into kickoff, if you have joined by that time, that means you have to sit with the business users, product owner, gather their business requirement and document this document. Put down everything in that document. Every document you are going to design, template is going to be provided to you. You are not going to come up with your own template only if your PM office says that, oh, we don't have any template right now, or can you just design a template for us. Then in that case you might have to design, but 99.9% time you will be getting a template, or they will be simply telling you just go through our document section, share drive section, pull out any FRD or BRD and utilize the same template. Before working on that template, just verify this template with your manager, with your project manager, with your team lead, and once you guys finalize that this is the template, you can start working on the document. And one more thing you need to understand is that you're not going to work on that document from page 1. Whatever you know, whatever information you already understand, you have captured any information which you need to take from BRD, you can copy paste as is, maybe rephrase it a little bit, but mostly things will be copy pasted. Anything which is already in BRD and that is going to replicate FRD or your functional documentation as well, so you can copy paste from there as well. And then anything you have, you write it down. After 2-3 days you can review this document with your team members, your business lead, and then eventually day by day you can finalize it. It depends what kind of project you're going to have. Timelines are going to vary. To write down a BRD, they might give you a month, 45 days. To write down a functional document, which is a complete detailed about business requirement document, how that business need is going to be executed, how this application is going to be designed and developed, what are going to be the users, how these users are going to be interacting with system, with every single function. When you're putting down this information, that would become part of your functional documents. And your functional documents are the one which are going to be given to the development team, and based on whatever you have written there, they are going to design the application. So your functional documentation is the most important documentation, and one of the functional documentation we covered yesterday, which is a user story specification document. Pretty much 80% of your projects you will join, you will have to write functional documentation in form of user stories. So when you talk about functional documents in these both approaches, waterfall will have only one document, functional document called FRD, which is your functional requirement document, or they can also call it system requirement specification document, but generally this is the term they use. Have you worked on FRD? Have you created FRD? How do you write FRD? What are different components in FRD? This kind of question comes in your interview, and you need to mention FRD only if you are working in a waterfall environment. Most of you will have agile project, one odd project or two projects might be in waterfall as well once we design the resumes. So accordingly we have to make sure that you know which project is going to have FRD. And FRD one document is needed only because this is waterfall and you're not going to facilitate changes into it. So you simply have to create one complete document and then get signed, get approval from the business users, and then pass it on to the development team. When I was writing FRD in Barclays, they gave me 3 months time. Honestly speaking, I finished it in 3 days or 4 days. All the information was already there. We already had conducted different meetings. I had all minutes of meetings. I had a BRD available to me. So it took me 3-4 days maximum. But because my managers, they gave us this timeline and they wanted to review everything on daily basis or after 2 days, and then they were not in a rush because they know that this is our deadline. So they gave me, I told them that within 2 months we were done with the project. So I said, this is good, we can move for our development phase. Now when you talk about agile scrum or agile XP or agile Kanban environment, you cannot have one single document. Can somebody tell me what is the reason why we cannot have one single FRD in Agile as well?
Because it accommodates changes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if it is accommodating changes, that mean if let's suppose you have finalized your FRD and you have passed on your FRD to development team and they're running in their first sprint based on whatever is in FRD, they're taking first 3-4 features and they're putting in first sprint. Let's suppose after 1 or 2 sprints your business users, they want to make major changes or even small changes. Now that means for those new changes you have to do further analysis, and then you need to put them down into your FRD again, edit your FRD, and then eventually further you have to get approvals and sign off. And what if after 3-4 sprint again same situation happens, then what are you going to do? So getting approval from business users again and again and again, that is going to will become very tough. Give me 1 second, guys. I have to answer this message. So you are not going to have one FRD, one single FRD in Agile. You will have user story specification document. I have only seen Anil doing this assignment. So before tomorrow's class, please everyone submit their user story assignments to me or put it down on Jira, and please add me on Jira as well. Guys, you might think it is a very simple process, simple documents, but if you are not going to do it, again, I'm telling you it is simple. BA role is very simple. The tough part is communication. Tough part is understanding the business need. Documenting is not that tough because you have templates, because you have all the information you need. You simply have to put it in your document, and then reviewing it again and again with your teams and business leads, that also becomes very easy, that you know that you are going toward the right direction because everyone is providing you with the inputs. But if you don't practice it, you'll be reluctant. So please make sure you guys are practicing these assignments. These are very tricky. A lot of question comes on these documents. What is user story? How do you write user story? Acceptance criteria. Tell me one example of your project and write down. Once we have your resumes finalized, I'll ask you to design user stories for 2 recent projects. So in case if somebody asks you from your actual projects, recent project, that tell me a user story and how do you write it down, so you should be able to do it. But if you don't practice it right now, it will become very tough later on in the phase. So please make sure you all guys are going to work on it. Now, talking about user stories, we've already covered user story specification document. Every function is going to be written separately. Every function is going to have its own dedicated functional document, which is user story specification document. Yesterday Sonam was talking about within her new assignment she's going to join. What they were doing is they were breaking down first. Sonam, you there? Can you talk? She is having dentist appointment. Okay. Epic. Then she was talking about features, and then she was talking about user stories. Okay. Usually this is how it works. From Epic, you break it down into user story, and for Epic, you can also write down the whole document. Because let's suppose there's one Epic called payment, and payment using various methods. So when you're writing acceptance criteria for various methods, you can break it down into 1 acceptance criteria, 2 acceptance criteria, 3 1 with credit card, how you make payment, 2 with PayPal, how you make payment, 3 with your account, how you make payment, and then you put down all these steps. So Apex can also be documented. Then that means if you're documenting Apex, you really don't need to define user stories separately. But most cases you will see that you will have Apex broken down into user story already, and then you have to write down functionality separately for every user story. So that you need to follow. Now talking about FRD, BRD, what is BRD, what is FRD, how do you write it? As I mentioned, you already have templates for it, so you don't need to worry about it. And I'm going to walk you through today on my one project which I've done with Barclays. I'm going to show you my actual project documents, which is having BRD, FRD, test plan, and test cases. You are not going to review test cases and test plan yet because we'll have a lecture on testing Thursday and Friday. So weekend you can review those documents, but right now you simply need to go through FRD and BRD, and I'm going to walk you through today. So let's see.
Imran, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So most of the projects are generally enhancements or modifications of what existed.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point of time, be it agile or be it waterfall, the BRD and FRD will already be there, right?
So if
So
it's
in a
waterfall, then
waterfall, if
BRD and
it is,
FRD is already going to be there. And if it is agile, then BRD and user stories are also going to be there. But one thing you need to understand in terms of the whole project, not only in documents. Let's suppose I have an application in my department and that application needs some changes. Those changes are only, let's suppose, 25% of what already we have. The whole effort we already did, it is just merely 20% that we are going to do. When you're doing this kind of stuff, you have to clone everything again. You're not going to use existing document as is. You need to rewrite BRD by cloning the existing BRD and adding new features into it. You need to clone your FRD or user stories, all the functionality which already exists, plus the new functionality which you're going to design. For that, you need to do documentation. That process is called cloning. And most probably, uh, when you join the project, they usually give you this kind of task: can you clone documents? So don't get confused when they say clone document. Clone document mean the existing documents need to be rewritten, plus whatever new features we are going to have will work on that also. And when you are working on this document, as I said, in this project, as I said, it is not only about documentation that you will be redoing everything. It will be every single thing you will be redoing. So that means if you are designing those new features, when these features are going to be tested, they cannot be tested alone. You need to do whole testing of the system again. That is called regression testing. Even though you know those functionalities are working properly, but because the new functionality might hurt the performance of existing function as well, so they want you to test the whole system again. That is called regression testing, and that is same thing in documentation as well, that you need to reclone all those documents into new one again. Okay,
okay, sure. And so that is, so if it's waterfall also, it'll go through the same process.
same process. The whole FRD will be written
Okay.
again. You'll be copy pasting the existing FRD and then adding new features into the new template and then getting approval on every single thing again. So these are the documents, guys. The first document, I have scanned all these 4 documents in one file. First document is test cases. All the test cases I've done. And yesterday, I think a couple of days ago, Anil, you were asking me questions. So when you review document, how do you take notes? So this is how you how we take notes. Okay, see, on top of it, when I was sitting with my manager, he was telling me what to do and I was just writing down everything. This is just the rough version. Okay, so going forward,
So
I'm gonna
did
show
you mean that you took a printout?
exactly. So
Sorry,
how it
Imran.
works
So did you mean that
now?
you took a printout and written?
Yes, yes. So please do not review the first one because we haven't covered this lecture yet. You need to go through, I think, page 40, which is your FRD, then there's BRD. So let's first see BRD and then we see FRD. Okay. So this is my FRD, Financial Intelligence Global Search, FIGS Implementation Phase 1, version 1.0, date 13th April 2015, prepared by Imran Rafiq, Business Analyst FIU, and this is a draft. These are all the people who reviewed it or signed it off. Okay, some people, if you see, are reviewers, some people are sign off people. Then there's a revision. Let's not even look at it right now. Let me show you first the BRD and then we'll move to FRD. And I'll be sending you this document after the class. Okay, so this is business requirement document, Financial Intelligence Global Search Tool. This is the date. So if you see 1/10/14, it was published, and my FRD was published on April 15. So that is how many days, guys? How many days?
5 days.
Huh? No,
2 months, 3 months, right?
3 months.
sorry, 3. Okay.
3 months.
3 months.
Okay, so date, month, year. Okay, yes.
95 days.
Yes, yes.
95 days.
95. So after developing, finalizing, approving BRD, they gave us around 3 months to come up with the FRD. Now this is important. This table of content is very important. That is the question they usually ask you. Tell me what are different table of contents, or how do you write a BRD, or how do you write an FRD. So first page is always going to be the name, version control. What is the version? It is version 1.0. Document control mean any updates, any changes which were made through the timeline. So 11.9.14, 19.9.14, 1.10.14 and 3.10.14. So he started writing it on 11th of September and he finalized on 3rd of November or October. So around 1 month time he took to write down these 5-6 pages. Bahir was the guy who was working from UK office, Barclays UK, London, and we had a change management team. He was the head of change management team. There's a concept nowadays you will see, even within business and BA, there's going to be a change management team. Any changes which are going to come, they need to be approved through them. Most communication should be done with them. Document approvals, all those things, they need to go through them. But that is not case in every single project, every single organization. But if you find out there's a CMT team, that means the CMT team is going to work between BAs and business change management team. All right. Sign off. These were the people. Paul Harlig, he's a global head. He still is the global head of financial intelligence unit of Barclays. Currently, he's the head as well. Victor Raimondi, data analytics and program director. Kiran Talasala was my program director. Financial crime US technology lead. He was our director. Distribution list. These are the people to whom this document was sent, shared. These are the people who only were shared this document because for information purposes. These were the people who reviewed them, signed it off, approved it. Contents are introduction, overview. So introduction, overview, purpose of this document, risk assumptions, dependencies and constraints, high level business context and requirement. What is the business context? What is the business requirement? Appendix, and who are the stakeholders. So total of 6 pages, starting from 3 to 6, 3 pages. Okay, so in case if you need to write down BRD, don't get confused, don't get nervous. It is not that rocket science. So this is the introduction. Financial intelligence unit is the component within the new inquiries and surveillance risk mitigation.
Sorry to cut you off. So how long is the BRD? Like, does it matter the length, or as long as we answer the questions?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So is it the lengthwise, or if we requirements are done? That's what I'm asking.
So it depends what kind of application, what kind of platform you're going to have. Mostly BRDs are going to be high level. Again, there's no such thing that, oh, it's always going to be 3-4 pages, but it is going to be always based on these table of contents: introduction, overview, purpose, business context and requirement. And let's suppose if one application is having 50 requirements, business requirements, that means the length of the document would be more. But moreover, overall the document table of content across all organizations are going to be same.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Overview. So FIU is responsible for identifying financial crime trends and patterns by conducting threat analysis by jurisdiction, business, product, service and channel. FIU gather intelligence from internal and external risk events as well as transactional data to provide a top-down view of hotspots. The FIU provides assistance to financial crime investigations, AML, terrorist financing, surveillance, bribery and corruption. Purpose of this document is to list down the high-level business requirements. What are the risks? What are the assumptions? What are the dependencies and constraints we might have? The risk is there's a risk that data privacy, secrecy, confidentiality constraints limit the ability to deliver a single customer search solution. Okay, by reading this statement, what do you guys understand? If you want to design a single search solution and you want to bring data of customers, accounts, transactions into this application, the first and most important thing we need to see is, can we get approvals from the data owners? Again, guys, you are having investment banking department and there's not one IT team who's working. There could be 10 different IT teams in one department. All these 10 IT teams are different types of project for investment banking department. All these teams need access to database. They are reaching out to database owners and requesting that we want to have this solution, and for this solution we want to have this data. The database team, management team, is not going to give you easy access. They will figure out what is the reason you are going to design this application, what is the need. They will be needing all the approvals because of the confidentiality and data privacy issues. Because IT team mostly you will see working as contractors, and if you give contractors access to your secure data, secret private data, client information, confidential information, they might misuse it. So it is responsibility of database team, management team, that whoever is getting access, they are working within the limitations. So that is one issue, one risk you will pretty much see in every single project, that they will at least highlight it, they will at least write it down. That doesn't mean you won't be able to get access. Of course you'll be able to get access, but still it is a risk. Issue, we don't have any issue. Assumptions, we are assuming that customer screening covers all active customer reference data across all business units. So whatever business units we have, all the active customers data, that would be provided to us to build this application. That is an assumption we are making. Dependency, some business units will not have feeds into data repositories warehouse and will have to remain on the existing manual exact matching process. Some business units, they might not have their data linked to the data source, so in those business units they will not be able to utilize this application. So they have to continuously perform manual, they have to continue perform manual searches rather than using this application. Customer data repository owners to apply recommended data quality and integrity controls for data completeness, accuracy, reliability, consistency, and timeliness. Whoever is going to own this data, whoever is owning this source from where we are going to get information, they need to ensure the accuracy of data, reliability of data, consistency of data. In our case, that was not there. We were having so many issues with database was not giving us many information, it was giving us wrong information, it was missing so many values. And because when we started this project, I had to do the whole data analysis and data coverage. So I created a data coverage document for my business users to highlight that, guys, we are going to have issues. These are the issues we are going to have. So when they talked to the database team, they started their own project to fix these issues. So same time when we were designing this application, whatever issues I highlighted, they started working on it and they had to do this whole project again. This is the business context, business requirements. FIU have a requirement on an ad hoc basis to conduct global search of their various customer information system to identify relationship with various individuals and entities. These requests can elevate as a consequence of number of activities, including an investigation coming from FBI or any regulatory agency, consequence of a regulatory request to measure the bank's exposure to a particular issue or risk, a part of group-wide exit strategy, which is including PEP list, politically exposed person list. If you find out that this person is hurting our business, they're doing certain transactions which are exceeding certain parameters, certain boundaries, then you need to find out what we need to do. As an inquiry of adverse publicity on individuals and entities, let's suppose one of your customer have been given a subpoena order in court or they are having a trial, bigger trial, and that is going to hurt your bank repute as well. Maybe they've used your bank to do those activities or any illegal activities they have done. So that is your bank's headache. So that is the reason they wanted to design this application, so they can perform all these analysis, they can pull up reports on these customers. And this was the high level business approach, is how we are going to build it, who is going to be involved in it, what are going to be the phases. So phase 1 will provide an automated solution, phase 2 will provide more information, more data. We wanted to have phase 1 customer identification. The following are the requirements that need to be addressed immediately. Identify key stakeholder within financial crime business KYC who can support the global search process. Design and agree a standard centralized process to handle E2A search request. Automate global search solution. Identify databases where we currently hold customer data, so we can bring all that data into our application. Identify and implement a front end search solution which can search across identified data sources. So basically, first of all, find out what are the data where we have this information available, and second thing, design an application which can be integrated with these data sources so we can pull up all this information easily. Subsequent phases, what is going to happen in later phases, will add more information such as products information, investments they are having, source feed information, and beneficiary owners and related party information. These were certain informations which we were going to add in our phase 2. Phase 1 is only going to provide customer information, account information, and transaction information. What is the scope of project? What are different business units which will be in scope? So we were having personal and corporate banking, Barclay Card, Investment Bank, Barclays Africa, and Barclays Non-Core. These are the in-scope business units who can use this application. Data which we are going to use, data privacy impact will be assessed as a part of this project. Relevant approvals will be obtained and documented. What is the high-level business requirement? Here it is clear. Business requirement 1, design agree to application which we are going to design, make it complete operational, identify what are the sources which we're going to utilize to build this application, and the most important thing for us was this: search input data should include title, surname, forename, middle name, address of the person, date of birth, nationality, residence. If it is an entity, not an individual, but as an entity or organization account, then their legal name, trading name, address, country of incorporation, and company ID. The search should be conducted on active Barclays customer and customer with previous Barclays relationship, and also dormant and closed accounts. Also, we can bring that data. Business requirement 6, comprehensive identity matching solution designed to efficiently search, so search bar. Business requirement 7, all the nicknames, keywords, missing words, everything can be brought in. Business requirement 8, architecture should allow customization of matching criteria. Business requirement number 9, identify financial crime and KYC stakeholders. Identify FIU resource requirement for the search process. Conduct adequate training on search tool. Agree and sign off on the governance framework for adoption method. So these were 12 business requirements which were given to us, and most important was the search input, and this data should be part of the application. Everything else is based on design part, agreeing part, and data retrieval part, if we are able to get that data and identify what data we are going to utilize. And then that's it. Who are the stakeholders? These are the stakeholders who are working in this project, what they are going to do, what are their titles and everything. And then project milestone: publish FBRD 3/10/2014, obtain BRD sign off by 15th, complete analysis, data repository, all these was to be completed, and that's it. So this is your complete business requirement document. Now once you have this BRD, you have to go and do your analysis, and you have to work with the business team and product owners to define each business need and break it down into functional requirement. Okay, so how do you write functional requirement document? This is going to be pretty same. Template of BRD is going to pretty much look same as template of FRD. As I said, this is just FRD is nothing but extension of your business requirement document. Business requirement document will highlight what is needed. FRD will highlight how you are going to build that need, how you are going to deliver that need. So this is my FRD. Financial intelligence, global search, FIGS, implementation phase 1, Hornet customers, accounts, and wire transaction. What is Hornet? Hornet was the name or is the name of major database Barclays using. So Hornet database was having customer accounts and wire transaction information. Version 1, 13th April 2015. Still, this is not the final date. Final approval was done after a month, I think. Reviewers and sign off are all pretty much same people who were the sign off in business requirement document. Plus I had to add my own IT team here so they can review it, they can approve it. Mostly this list will be provided, not mostly, all the time this list will be provided to you by your PM or PMO office, project management or project manager, who's going to tell you who are the people whom you are going to put on your FRD. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me put you on mute. Okay, so these are the people who will sign. Initial draft was written on 15th Feb, updated based on feedback from Benicia, Kiran Talasala and Munjal Desai. Benicia was my product manager or the product owner. Kiran
Hey,
Talasala
Bran.
was... Yes, Anil?
I think you zoomed and my whole screen only sees the names of the attendees and very less, 25% only the document. Is there a way you can just, there are 2 bars on the name of these candidates. Can you unfreeze
Is it
that?
okay now? No, I've zoomed out. Is it okay now? Can you see it
Anil, I
now?
think it is your computer. We all
Okay.
can see it fine.
All right. So
Zoom out.
let me judge.
Yeah, can you zoom out, Anil? If you see, there would be zoom out button.
Okay. Please continue, Imran.
Can you see it now?
I can see, but I don't know. I did something wrong.
Okay, right click on your screen.
Okay.
Do you see any option of zooming it or zooming out?
I use the full screen version.
Okay. Okay, I'll be sharing this document with you. Don't worry. If you're not able to see it right now, you'll be able to see.
Okay, no
Let
problem.
me zoom it out further. So if, does this help now or no? Nothing is changing on your side.
It's changing, but not visible for me. But that's okay. I'll continue. I'll listen to you.
Okay. So first draft was written on February 15. I sat down with my product owner, which is Benicia, and my team lead, Kiran. Manjal Desai was the project manager. We discussed this document. They asked me to make some changes. So on March 3, I made those changes, and April of 13, I got the final draft updated with all those informations which was given to me by my manager, and then eventually that was it. So these are the table of contents. Again, pretty much same thing: reviewer sign off, document control, executive summary, introduction. Within introduction, you have to write down purpose of this document, what is the project information or objective of the project, and what was the business problem. Scope is very important. There are going to be 2 things in scope: in scope and out of scope. Okay, what is in scope and what is out of scope? Can you guys tell me?
In scope is within the scope of the features which are agreed within the scope, and out of scope is the features which are not part of the agreed thing.
Yeah. So In scope and out of scope. So correct, Anil. In scope mean which is we are going to agree, and out of scope does not mean that we are not going to design it. Out of scope can go in your second phase as well, where you can say that we are not agreeing it to right into this one right now, but we might get these features in our coming phases. Uh, when you are having BRD scope is going to be different from your FRD scope, because BRD they can tell you 100 things they want, but once we do requirement gathering further, do analysis on it, then we can sit with the PMO office and tell them that, guys, sir, we can give you this within the timeline you have given us, within the resources you have provided us. We can do this, we cannot do this. So we are going to either put it out of scope, or you guys can discuss with the business team if they're going to extend the timeline. So that is going to be discussion on in scope and out of scope. One meeting would be conducted once you are done with the analysis part. After scope, you have financial intelligence global search UI flow, a process flow or a workflow. Usually the architecture is the diagram of architecture can be pasted here, which you can get from your architecture or from a developer. But if it is a simple flow workflow that you need to design, you can self design it. I myself designed this workflow, which I'll be showing you in few moments, and I will be also showing you the architecture of this application, which is in your testing document. Fourth is your detailed functional requirements. So now all those functionalities which we finalize, starting from login till logout, everything will be explained one by one. So think of it as you are writing down the acceptance criteria for every single function in this part. Same acceptance criteria you were writing in your user stories yesterday. I showed you yesterday. Think of it as for every single function, acceptance criteria would be written in this detailed functional requirement part, and that is the one which is going to be most important. After that, you will have non-functional requirement section, where you will put down all those non-functional requirement: privacy, secrecy, authentication criteria, maintenance criteria, speed of system, archiving method, all those things. But the information on all those non-functional requirement you are not going to write down. You're going to sit with your developer, and he is going to, or he or she is going to define how these non-functional requirements are going to be built. Okay, customer accounts, attributes, and search summary that you don't really need. Project plan, you really don't need to have. My manager asked me to keep adding it, even though you will not see it. Only thing you will see in an FRD is executive summary, introduction, scope of the project, architecture of the project or application, detail level functional requirement, and non-functional requirement, and right away you will go to appendix. That's it. This is what your, but because as I said, I finished this in 3-4 days. So my manager was like, okay, if you're sitting like that, why don't you add more stuff into it? So I started adding project plan, scope, assumption, dependency is always going to be there. So sorry, I missed that. So scope, assumption, dependency is always going to be there. Role, responsibilities, all these things in the bottom you see, you won't see them in most FRDs. Now going into the actual project, this FRD, if you see pretty much same thing which you were looking in your BRD, pretty much same thing has been copy pasted here. Financial intelligence unit is the intelligence component within the new queries. Same everything. I'm copying it, pasting it here. FIU will be aligned with other teams. Financial Intelligence Global Search, what is this tool? Is one of the 4 work stream under FIU, and its purpose is to provide efficient and user-friendly search capabilities to the business stakeholders of the data acquired through FIU, considering that it would take more time to acquire all the required data. Tactical and strategical solution have been planned for global search. Phase 1, within phase 1, we are going to provide information on customer data, account data, wire transaction data, check payment, check deposits, and account statement. Introduction. Purpose of this document is to outline the detailed functional requirements for the implementation of an internal web-based platform referred as FIGS, Financial Intelligence Global Search Tool, in order to provide user-friendly search capabilities. Fix phase 1 requirement have been defined based on scope as documented in the project charter, as well as working session with the subject matter expert. What is this product description? What is the objective of this application? As I mentioned, it is a search bar which is going to perform various searches on different customers across different data sources, and you can print reports using this application as well. Business problem, why a business is going to have this or going to design this business. I mentioned the business problem that they usually get ad hoc based requests from different investigation agencies for their customers, so they have to provide information on these customer, and they had to talk to the database team and get everything done manually. So now they've decided that they are going to build this application so that the data can be centralized into this one application, and then using search bar users can pull the information of specific customers. Scope of the project, in scope, out of scope, these are two things which we define. In scope is that we are going to basically, FIGS will provide search functionality for the customer, accounts and transaction present in Hornet database. Types of transaction covered are wire. Other type of transaction which can be included, I'm putting it here because still a draft, we haven't finalized this. Check payments, check deposit, account statement. Functionality supported in the applications are basic search on various data attributes pertaining to customer accounts and wire transaction which are part of your Hornet database. It gives you security access, authorization, it gives you export to Excel, it gives you export to PDF. You can export that data, print that data into PDF or Excel. It provides wildcard search, it provides multi-word search. Anyone understand what is wildcard search and what is multi-word search?
Yes, Imran.
Mhm.
When you use a string called star or and use a part of the phrase, it will try to bring the related words of the entire equation, like synonyms or, for example, a word recruit is there, or when you use a word called star and space or without space recruit, it brings all the related words related to recruitment, recruiting, recruiter, recruiting manager.
Exactly. Or Barclays, if you simply put BAR and then that, you will be still able to find anything which includes Barclays and all that. Multi-word search also, that you can use two different words, give them space or asterisk in between them, and then you'll be able to. So these were the functionalities which we're offering. What are the business units which are covered? Barclays IB, investment banking, Barclays Wealth America, Barclays ABSA. ABSA was what? ABSA was African side, I think. I'm not sure. Corporate, out of scope. So following items will not be covered in phase 1, as BRD section also refer it as item to be covered in subsequent phases. Transactions from Hornet which are not listed in scope, such as journal transaction, trade and settle trade, these were not part of phase 1, these were part of phase 2. Advanced search based on combination of data attributes with filters, we were not providing that, we were providing that in phase 2. BSA database and FileServe database. Apart from Hornet, they had BSA database and FileServe database, which usually store your New York branch wire transaction information. Initially, we are not going to bring these two databases into the application, but eventually in subsequent phases, we were bringing this in. High level requirements, user and authentication. FIGS have going to have 3 types of users. We are going to have admin who can give access to all these users. Admin can view data, admin can print data. Then you have analyst who is going to be the main person working on it. They can print the data, they can view the data on this application. And then you have viewers which can only view the information, they cannot print the information. User access and control, FIGS provide single sign-on such application. So once you sign it on one time, automatically this will save your information, and once you launch the application on browser, automatically you'll be signed off. What data sources we are using, I already told you. Hornet was a database we were utilizing. What is the functionality? Real-time search, data index update. Every day application will get daily data updates. what information we are providing: customer information, account information, transaction information, wildcard, multi-word search, and data presentation structures for transaction, which is a template we created based on what request we were getting. We created templates as well. We're providing that. Data presentation structure for customer and accounts, data presentation structures for transaction and customers, what data we are going to provide: wire, check payments, check deposit, what data we are going to provide on customer side, which is client ID, client legal name, account subtype, business tier, business unit, client category, source system, region, client trading name, status indicator, business date, account created date, company ID. All these are the information which we can provide. Export function was being provided: export to Excel, export to PDF, and link to BSA database. We were only providing link to BSA database, that if somebody want to search BSA, they can simply go and use this link and go into database and search for customers, but they cannot use BSA database information within this application. Logout and timeout feature: if a user is not using application, if the session has become inactive for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the application will self log out. Now, Hornet overview and approach. Hornet is the name of the database. What this database have, what information this database is going to have, that analysis I did myself. Hornet provides 4 types of information: customer, accounts, KYC, and transaction. Hornet have 4 different systems. Every system stores specific information. STS stores reference data. Reference data simply mean data which is defining a data. For example, country codes, transaction codes, SWIFT codes, all these different codes, these are called reference data. These codes are going to define your transaction information. GAOS was our global account opening system, which stores KYC information. KYC mean know your customer. All the customer information such as their names, their date of birth and all that, their identification numbers, passport number, their license number, all tax ID numbers, all that information was given to GAOS. DocSpeed also store KYC information. Pershing store also your reference data. So this database had 4 subsystems. Again, as a BAs, you are not concerned with this, and I was not even sure what is this, but I had to sit with the database team and understand. So they will let you know that our database have 4 subsystems. Every subsystem stores specific kind of information. That means every subsystem have certain types of tables which store same kind of information. So if you're thinking I myself went into database and saw this, you cannot see this. Your database team will let you know how your database is created. Only thing you need to make sure is when you're doing data analysis is whatever information my business is requesting within the application, is it available in the database? For example, they wanted to see social security number. I went into customer table by simply getting the access to database, opening that Hornet, clicking on it. I was able to see all the tables there. I was seeing customer table there as well, but because I want to open this table, I had to use a query. Simple statement: select star from customer table, hit enter. Soon I did that, the whole table opened up. There were 2.1 million customers. Customer table had information of customer ID, customer first name, middle initial, last name, customer date of birth, customer address, customer zip code, country of birth. All those informations were there. So now I wanted to see if customer table have the social security number available or not, and it had available, but most of the customers were missing social security number, as I mentioned last lectures as well, because this is a global bank and data is coming from different countries and different regions, and these people don't have social security number. So I went back to my business, told them that out of 2.1 million customers, around 400,000 are having social security, 1.7 million customers are missing social security. Do you still want to bring it? They said, what is the alternative? So I went into further this table and saw that tax ID number is also available, and that is available for every single customer. So we brought both social security number into application as well as tax ID number. This is your analysis, finding out if the information which they requesting is that available in your database or not. And your business users, they can simply request you this information we want to see, but they're not always certain if all the information they are requesting Is that information optional or mandatory? For instance, when you go and open account, investment account, or any basic account, they ask you certain questions. They give you a form to fill. Not all the questions they are asking you, not all the data they are requesting you is mandatory. Some data points are optional, which you leave blank. So same way, when this information from the form goes into database, it will show blank values on the optional field. But because my business was asking me to bring it, so I had to do analysis and find out that if this information is readily available for every customer, every account or not. And then you go back and forth, you do data workshops, you identify issues related to data, you perform data analysis, and eventually you'll be able to create the mapping document, which is the identification of each data attribute coming from which database, which table, and how it is stored, what is the format and pattern. We have 2 lectures on that: data analysis and data mapping and data warehousing. I'm not going to confuse you now, but the idea here is that you need to, once you go into database, you need to find out whatever information your application needs, is that available or not. I am also highlighting issues of this database in this part, which you usually don't do in FRD, but I had to because there were major issues in database. Success factors, why we are thinking this application will be success, because delivery, we are delivering all our Hornet database customer and accounts and 4 type of transactions. So it is a very successful factor, bringing all this information into one single application. Fix tool is going to be made available globally. This application, which is designed by me, is being currently used by many banks, many branches, corporate office across globe. Powerful, intuitive, real-time search capabilities. It provides you with real-time data, easy navigation, very, very user-friendly website, application. It is easily scalable. Scalable mean you can make changes into it, you can enhance it, you can add more functions into it, you can add more data sources into it. So it's very scalable. Wildcard multi-word search, that is also a success factor, which gives ease to business users, not putting everything, just putting maybe half word and then pulling it through multi-word search or wildcard search. Ability to export results using Excel or PDF, that was another. Again, I'm simply repeating all the functionalities as the success factor. This is the Figs final Figs UI flow workflow, which I designed myself. Search process using user login, single sign-on. You will see first screen would be a search bar screen. You would enter any information, any client name, client ID into it. It will open up the customer screen, as well as there would be a tab on transaction screen. By default, customer screen, customer information will be showed, and second tab would be of transaction. You can click on that tab and then it can show you the transaction information of that customer. And then further, if you click on each customer, it will open up the summary page, which will provide the whole detail of all the data we want to see. And then further, both these summary pages can be exported into PDF or Excel, and then eventually customer can log out, or there's a self sign out feature if you're not using it for 5 or 10 minutes. This workflow, basic workflow, was designed. I use Balsamiq for it. You can use Microsoft Visio, you can use Lucidchart, or you can use Balsamiq. I'll be doing, tomorrow's lecture is going to be on workflows, process flows. So I'll be showing you how to design them. This is detailed functional requirement. Now I'm taking every single requirement and breaking it down into functionalities, writing it down. For example, first was the users. Who are going to be the user? What kind of access they are going to have? 3 types of users: fixed, viewer, analyst, and supervisor or admin. What kind of access they have? This is how the application front end would look like. So I'm creating these mock-ups and screen designs. We had a UI UX experienced person. He was part of the project for a month or 2 months. He was there to design the front end of the application, and we were taking these snapshots from him and putting it in the functional documents so that developers can also see how we want to see it. So this is the functional requirement, which is explained one by one: how search will be applicable, how filters are going to be used. If I'm searching Barclays, I can search last 3-month data, last 6-month data, or 1-year data. This is the date filter. how you're going to perform multi-card or wildcard search. So putting this Barclay and asterisk, and once you do it, it will bring out information of all Barclays accounts, how data is going to be presented. This is the summary page. Every single functional requirement here is going to be explained in detail. Same concept as yesterday I was showing you. When you're writing down acceptance criteria and user stories, you're simply writing down acceptance criteria here as well. But you're not writing acceptance criteria. Everything is going to be like this. There's not going to be a template like a user story. Simple statements you can write down and you can show. Search, summary structure, customer information, how it is going to export data, how it is going to export into Excel and PDF, and then how it is going to log out. So logout button, timeout button. The logout button will appear on the top of the right corner of Fig's main UI page. Logout will terminate the session of the current users and navigate the page with an appropriate message. Also, an automated timeout feature will be built into the system, which will automatically close the session of the current user if there has been no activity for last 5 minutes. So these are all the function requirements. Now, non-function requirements: system scalability, maintenance requirement, system accessibility, security standard, user support and access, network security. All this information I didn't write it. I got it from my development team. System capacity. Fixed tool will be available at least minimum 90% as per Barclays standard. Disaster recovery. Fixed disaster recovery will be aligned with Barclays business continuity management. Users. Fixed tool will support at least 50 concurrent users which are based in multiple geographic location. User will be primarily based in UK and US. Archiving. It will bring you data of the fixed tools have the capacity to store at least 2 years of data with a further 5 years stored within data archive. Performance. Fix queries. Whenever somebody is searching on this tool, they will respond within few seconds. For example, less than 5 seconds, it will bring you all the results. So this is the end of your FRD. Okay. This is nothing but customer account attribute, whatever data we were showing in application. I just pasted all this data. Project plan started January, February we are writing FRD, March we are still writing FRD, by April we are getting FRD sign off, and we are starting our development in April, mid-April. May we are doing this development and testing. We are doing UAT, and end of May and June will have UAT sign off, and end of June will go live. So it's a 6-month project. Because it's a small application, it is only phase 1. Phase 2 will continue after June, so July will kick off to phase 2. That was the plan. Scope, assumptions, and dependencies. What we are assuming that the access to databases will be given to us on timely manner. We are assuming that data would be in right form, data would be accurate. We are assuming that once we go in user acceptance testing, users will be made available to perform testing and all that. What are our dependencies? We are dependent on access to data sources. We are dependent on business stakeholders to sign off and approve documents on timely manner. We are dependent on CMT and business units to be available during the analysis and UAT phase. What are the constraints we are having? There could be multiple constraints. For example, data privacy, secrecy issues there, challenges of learning the new tool. We were utilizing Apache Solar. It's an open source platform to design the application. Some projects design application using Java, some use Java Angular, some use .NET, some use ASP. Different technologies are there to design. We were using Apache Solar. It is an open source platform. So because team was new to it, so they're saying it could be a constraint learning this, but that was not constraint from business analysts, but for the development team. Delays in FRDs can also, or delays in sign off on UAT can also hurt this. What are different roles and responsibilities? Again, you don't need to have this section in FRD, but we had it. Roles and responsibility. What is the role of technology team? What is the role of organization? Project governance. All these are mentioned here. This is the appendix section, which is explaining what data will be part of this application. All this data. You don't need it. Let me be very clear. You don't need to put it. As he said, had nothing to do, had to do it.
Imran, I have a question.
Sure.
So, Imran, like this, you showed the constraints and dependencies, right? So, what is the timeline like? Do you do it in a cadence way? And this, I mean, and it depends, right? It's FRD, waterfall method, or if it is going to be, in the agile BRD, what should be the timeline? Like, how did you do it, and how would it happen in agile? Like, would it, because constraints would be like, every week, and depending on the daily scrum, we come across, whether we have any dependencies, constraints. So do you update that, on an ongoing basis, or is it already, mentioned in there?
So project
beforehand?
management office core responsibility is to come up with the risk, assumptions, dependency, and constraint. They will always develop this document with them. It would be on PowerPoint. You can always get it from your project manager that I want to see your project charter document where you have mentioned the constraints, dependencies, assumptions, and all that. You simply need to take from him and see if all these constraints are still there, because you don't want to copy paste everything. Maybe after a month or 2 months you will see there's no more constraints. You will take out those constraints. Usually there's no constraint in your project. If there's a constraint, that means you're not going anywhere. But eventually, day by day, they keep on decreasing their constraints. Assumptions are basically whatever assumptions they are making. If those have been thoughted out, they will take it out. This document on risk, assumptions, constraints, that is going to be designed by your PMO office. That is the core responsibility of that team. So as a BA, because you're interacting with them, so this information will be shared by them. You will be able to highlight maybe issues on data side when you're performing analysis, or on requirement side when you're performing analysis. That time you can provide inputs that this is one thing which we are facing, this is our assumption, or this is a constraint we are facing, or this could be a risk we are facing, and they can, from your input, they can update their document as well. But this is the responsibility of PMO office to highlight all these risks, assumptions, dependency, and constraint. And when we talk about agile or waterfall, regardless of any approach you're working, that these things are already highlighted in the initial phase of the project. When project is not even in kickoff phase, it is in very initiation phase, they're writing BRD. At that point of time, they're highlighting all these things. Without that, they cannot move further. So if you see my BRD
So you're saying,
also
is my
had those
understanding correct? Is my understanding correct that everyone, like we're getting from developers, we're getting from different stakeholders. Everyone has a source of this information. So is this document just a repository? Like who is reviewing it? Like what is the, like if you could give me in a layman term, who
So
is actually reviewing this document, and how frequently, and what is the effect? Like every time when they're developing, or every week, daily wise, the developers are reviewing this document, and is that making an effect to them, or is it just a repository for future purposes?
So your FRD is the everything is the whole architecture, the whole design, everything is based on your FRD, your functional documentation. Okay, without it, you cannot move further. Once it is approved, everything which is mentioned on it, it should be coded. Now, in terms of who's reviewing it, who's providing inputs and all that, you simply are putting this document on a shared drive. All your team members are having access to that shared drive without your permission. They can go, they can check it, they can put commentary on it. They're not going to change it, but they can put comments on it, and whoever is putting comment, it basically the SharePoint stores the information, what date they open this document. But eventually the final say has to come from your team lead, which is your maybe project manager, or your team leader, business manager, and then the product owner. These are three people whom you will be sending this document. Let's suppose I've done major chunk of it, I've done scope part, or I've done functional requirement part. So I'll be sending an email to them that if you guys have a time, we can set up a meeting. It could be face to face or over the phone, and we can go through this document, and you guys let me know with your inputs. So usually this
So
what
basically,
happens.
this document could be prepared in a cadence way, right? It's not like that we have to plan it or prepare it, during the sprint planning, or it could be like an ongoing basis, right?
It is going to be ongoing basis, but when you say sprint, when you say agile, you're not going to have FRD. For FRD, you definitely need 2-3 months. To complete this document, you definitely need 2-3 months. And once this document is done completely, approved and signed off completely, only then you can start your first development. You cannot move without this document inch. The
Yeah.
development team will not
Mostly in financial banks and all, waterfall. I mean, I'm not sure if people are using waterfall anymore, but yeah, in financial, banking sectors, they still are following it.
40%
So my
of
next
your
question is,
projects happening in US are still in waterfall. 60% of your projects are in Asia environment.
yeah,
Some projects in hybrid approach. This Barclay project was in hybrid approach. What is hybrid approach? Hybrid approach simply means having BRD, having a complete FRD, getting sign of approvals and all that, and then breaking down that FRD's functional requirement into user story specification document. And instead of going for a 2-week sprint, we went for a 1-month sprint in Barclays. So we had user stories, we had FRD, we had BRD, and we were having 1-month sprint, 4-week sprint within which we were designing components. So sometime you will see hybrid approach will be followed by week teams. My team, apart from me, nobody had experience working on Azure environment. It was a TCS team who was working with Barclays for a long time. These developers were working since 6-7 years. And we were 4 BAs who started this project. 3 got fired, not because of non-delivery, not because of anything, just because of political reasons. The manager named Kiran Talasala, he had some personal differences or I don't know, whatever. Eventually I had to sign off. I had to give my 2-week notice as well once I delivered the phase 1. I was supposed to deliver phase 2 as well, but I had to resign from my project just because of this guy. He would humiliate you in front of so many people without even thinking what I'm doing. But I had to deliver it because I was the team lead. So I had to deliver the whole. And eventually when I left, country head, Simarjeet Chatwal, she's still country head. She reached me out and she said, I apologize. What happened? You let me know. Why did you whistle blow? What was he doing? Can you send me something in written? Can you come for a cup of coffee and tell me what happened in this whole team and project? And then I want you to continue your second phase as well, because you're the only one left from the BA team. You are the only one who've written all these documents. So can you help me? So I said, no, if this person stays here, I'm not going to help you. My all developers are not going to even work in second phase. 3 developers left. 4 BAs were fired by him. So there was a situation which, so we were not having a complete agile friendly team. I was the only one coming from that background. And they asked me, how should we do it? So I said, okay, if you guys are familiar with waterfall, I'm going to walk you through agile stuff as well, but let's do it in hybrid approach, which will be bit easy for you guys. So based on what I've suggested them, they followed the hybrid approach, and we were successful in delivering on timely manner, even though I was the only one BA left there. Talking about the review part, who's going to review, what time they are going to review, simply your manager will highlight it that after every week on Thursday or Friday, why don't we have a meeting and see what you have done in terms of project, and we can provide you with the input. Again, they decide it. Or if you feel that you've written enough, as I felt all the time that I've written enough, so I used to tell them, I'm coming to you, review it and let me know. So it is always based on project wise, what is the criteria they are having, they will let you know. So this is your
okay. Imran, the spikes in the dependencies are in the NFR, right? In the non-functional requirements, or is it like separately mentioned?
So your dependencies constraints are going to be part of your BRD. They're going to be part of your FRD. They will have their own separate section. They are not part of functional requirement or non-functional requirement, because your FRD is not having only functional non-functional requirement. Your FRD is having executive summary part, introduction part, problem statement part, scope, which have in scope, out of scope. It have risk assumption, dependencies and constraints as a separate part. Then you have functional requirement, then you have non-functional requirement. So this is
so where would you mention the spikes in the non-functional requirements?
I'm sorry,
the spikes, where would you mention the spikes in the non-functional requirements?
no. Well, define spike. What is spike?
say, for example, we are having a framework, right? Say we are working on Angular, React, and what if we have a meeting with solution architect and he says that we have our application in Angular and we cannot make the front UI in React, right? For example, that will be, or if they have to any additional where they need a different environment or a different from the, I mean, it's very technical, not that's something I can say, but yeah, I mean, it's like those are like spikes where they're not even non-functional requirements, they are kind of dependencies that this will not happen until we provide this framework,
Yes,
that kind of spikes.
that would go definitely in dependency part.
Okay, got it.
Hey, Imran.
Yes, Sandeep.
So when we look at the BRD document which you presented, it has approximately about 10 BRD requirements mentioned. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to ask you is the team size of 4, as you mentioned. What was your role and what was your team's role? I'm sure like the entire thing is not done by a single BA.
So there are always 2 parts of your application, 3 parts actually, in any project. Let me show you on screen. Good question. So your application is going to have front end that you need to design. It is going to have back end that you need to perform, and then integration part or testing part. As a BS, you can be involved either in both or one of each. Front end mean you need to gather requirements. Front end mean you need to document requirement. You need to come up with mockups. You need to come up with screen designs. You need to come up with workflows, user interactions, and all that. So this is your front end. So one BA can work on the front end part, or 2 BAs can work on requirement gathering, analysis, documenting everything, creating use cases, UMLs, process flow, mockups, and all that. Backend mean you need to perform data analysis. Whatever this app front end, whatever information this front end is going to utilize, that is going to be called data. So you have to perform data analysis. Your data is stored either in SQL or Oracle server. So you'll go in there, you'll perform analysis in terms of available, not available, what are the issues we're having, and eventually doing data mapping, which is identifying where data is stored, how it is stored, and data validation and data testing. So 1 or 2 BAs can work on this side. Once your front end based on your requirements gathered, once your front end is designed, once your back end is designed, both need to be integrated. And then once that is done, you have to perform testing, where you can hire specific BAs for testing, or the existing BAs who are already working on this project, they can be part of it. Now, why we were 4 BAs? That's a good question. Because we were having 4 different projects going on at the same time. Okay, 3-4 different projects. We were total 6 or 7 BAs working in this team. Initially 4 were dedicated to financial intelligence global search tool only. 2 were part of the initial requirement sessions, requirement gatherings, and all those things. And then once we were done with that, they were assigned different projects. Remaining 2 of us, we were working on the front end and back end all together, but the other guy got fired in the very early phase. So I was the person who did data analysis. I did data workshops with every team, database team, business teams, and all that. I created data mapping document. I created all the front end documentation. uh, and I would simply say that I think one BA was more than enough in this project. Eventually the customer basically thinks that we might have issues and problem. That is why they go with 2 or 3 BAs. But when you go on speed, when I was like first 5-10 days, I got familiar with the tools, the environments, the teams, and databases. I thought of myself that this is very easy to handle, and I can only handle myself. When they fired the person, I could have requested my manager to hire someone else, but I did not. I told him, you don't need to hire anyone. I think I can handle it. and I handle it quite easily. As I already mentioned you that they gave me 2-3 months for writing FRD. It merely took me 3-4 days to write down everything. So front end, back end, they can assign you either on front end, they can assign you on back end, or they can assign you on both these tasks.
Okay. Imran, my next question.
Sure.
Non-functional requirement NFS or NFR. You said that you got it mostly from the development team. May I ask, how did you get them? Did you get in like bits and pieces, so you accommodated them into a particular document by copying one by one in an email? I'm most interested in understanding, like once the FRD goes to the development team, they start giving you the limitations or dependencies or non-functional requirements. So this would be given in a particular format, like one by one, and then you start listing them in the document, or how does it happen?
So when I joined the project, my project manager showed me list of all the non-functional requirements Barclay implement throughout different solutions. I already mentioned you last lecture that certain non-functional requirements were highlighted as yellow, certain were red that no more we're implementing, and certain were green. Out of the green, there were 20-25 green requirements. We selected 12 to 13. My manager said that this what should be, of course the developer was also sitting there, so we decided that these are the 12 or 13 requirements which must be built within our application. So I shared the non-functional requirement with the team, development team, before even writing down this document, so that because they are not the one who are going to decide on non-functional. For example, one of the non-functional requirement is update. When this application is going to get new updates, they don't know. They need to talk to RTB team, run the bank team, or in other words called production team. And they need to find out when we are going to implement our solution, when you guys can update our application, when you guys can maintain our application, what is the disaster recovery criteria for our application. So further, they will send this request to RTB team, and then RTB team looking at their applications, what existing application they are running or current server, looking at the window they have, they will let them know that okay this. And I simply sat with, once they finalize all those things, I pretty much was done with my FRD. Then I went to my developer's desk, I sat with him, I said I emailed you my document, can you open it? So he opened it, and I said, okay, can you tell me for archiving what we are going to do, for maintenance what we are going to do? And he said sure. So he told me, okay, for this maintenance, this is what we are going to do. For archiving, this is, because he already have gotten this email from the RTB team, production team, for certain requirements which he sent them. Certain information my developer already had. So by sitting with my developer, I filled out this information.
Further questions, Imran. When you said you may email a document and you sat with that particular development team or the RTB team person, so this requires a meeting, right? So basically, you cannot just walk in and then say, "I want to sit with you and open the document," isn't it? So
No,
basically,
you can actually walk. You can actually walk. When I've been telling you this thing, you need to build a relationship with your development team. Okay, you don't need to.
Okay.
This is your own team sitting next to you, pretty much same area. Maybe his desk is next to you. You guys become friends. You really don't need to be very official in terms of everything. Only time you have to send emails where you feel that okay, in future we might have some issues, so we have to communicate that we are having this meeting or we are going to conduct this meeting for this particular reason. But for things like that, you really don't need to do that. You simply can walk to your developer, simply say, hey, you available? If you're not available, fine, I'll come back. And if you'll say, okay, I'm available, sit down, whatever information I can give you right now. So it is based on your relationship, how you're going to handle and tackle it.
And then when you said he opens the application, so you are basically opening your laptop and recording, like typing that information, isn't it? Or you're taking a printout of it and writing it?
Yes. No, I'm just taking a printout and I'm writing whatever rough version he's talking. I'm just taking notes on it and I'm going back on my desk and then inputting all that information, rephrasing it, then again sending him this document, asking him to approve non-functional requirement. That should be done through official email. So once he reviews and reads it, he will let me know that I approve these non-functional requirements.
Okay, Imran.
Anyone have questions, or Anil is the only one who's supposed to ask questions? Because as BAs, this is what you should be doing, asking questions. Don't think, am I asking a valid question or invalid question? Keep asking, at least from me. So I can tell you what question, if you are asking this question to me, should you ask this question from a business user or your development team or not? It is going to be a good practice. So please guys, try to ask questions.
Another question, Imran.
Mm-hmm.
When we looked at when we did the, I mean, when I did the user stories, it was pretty much you made it like very simple and the confidence was very high.
Mm-hmm.
When I now look at the BRD and FRD, the document pages and the subsections, etc., are very more. Like for example, BRD has 6 pages, FRD has like more than 130 pages total, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm little trying to ask, like, is this whole presentation what you gave is looks good? Like we understood, I mean, I understood like these are the contents it goes in. How am I going to achieve it?
So day by day, gradually, you're not, as I said, you're not going to write down from page 1 whatever information you already have available, getting it from either BRD or from your PMO office, like risk assumption, dependencies, and constraint. First thing I put down was RAIDs, risk assumption, dependencies, and constraint. Second thing I put down was scope of the project. Eventually, gradually, slowly, every day you will be getting this information, because guys, you're going to have consistent meeting. 6 meetings all day. As a BA, your 80% of your work is nothing but meetings, taking those pointers, taking those notes, and then putting into document. And when you're saying writing this FRD, you're not going to be writing alone. Most cases, your FRD, your work is going to be divided. As I said, in my case, it was a worst case scenario that 2 or 3 BAs, they got fired at very early time. So I had to do everything. This is not 130. 130 is all these 4 documents. Test plan is there. Test cases are there. BRD is there. FRD is there. All these 4 documents have total 130 pages. FRD is only 26 or 27 pages. And they give you enough time. They give you 2-3 months to write it down. And you review it with your fellow BAs or developers again and again and again, and they provide you with input. Before even going to your manager, before even going to your product owner, you have to sit with your development team. You can simply email them, check their window when they're available, 3-4 developers you're working with, tell them that I want 30 minutes of yours so I can show you my document and we can proceed further. Why you want to show them this document? Because they are also part of those meetings. Even though they don't speak, they don't interact, but at least they are part of those meetings, and the way developer understand, I don't think anyone can understand. So when you're writing down these documents, you can sit with them, you can show them this, and definitely you're going to have a fellow BA who's going to also be there, and you can review this document before going into the meeting with product owner or your project management office or your team leader or business director, IT director, sorry. So again, guys, it's very, very simple. Same as you're writing user stories, pretty much same you're writing the function requirement as well. Everything else you are copying from different already available existing documents. Scope part, introduction part, executive summary part, risk assumption, dependencies, constraint part, architecture diagram will be provided to you by your architecture. Only thing you need to make sure that you're writing the functional requirement properly. So that is the one section which you will be working on, and they're giving you enough time for that. You're having multiple meetings. Let's suppose I'm stuck on my 3rd or 4th functional requirement. I'm not sure. That's not a problem. Identify the key stakeholder, who's the right person to answer this, have a meeting with him, 15, 20, 30-minute meeting. Before having this meeting, email him, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm reaching, and these are few of my questions, so that he's ready, he or she is ready before you set up a call with them. And then they can let you know that, okay, this is how we want the flow to be, this is how we want the acceptance criteria to be, or this is how users are going to use this application. Meetings, 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 and meetings. Don't hesitate.
So how are you recording the comments, Imran? Because in at my place, I mean they so when we send to the to the product owner, like on the client side, they kind of add comments, and then that's how they record before the sign off. So how do you guys do that?
A recording of what? I'm sorry.
The comments, like if they need any changes.
Yeah, so that's a first page. I showed you the document on Barclays that there is a part called version control. Hold on one second, let me show you.
You can search Control F, Imran.
No, I know, but it's just there, right there. Okay, see this document control or revision history that should be recorded on your FRD or BRD. First draft I written. I updated this draft based on feedback from Benicia Avocado, Kiran Talasala, and Manjul Desai. Account and customer information was the one which was changed. Final draft updated with transaction, wire checks, payment check, deposit account statement with who, whatever person names are there, you can mention there. So anything you are changing in this document, anything which you are editing in this document after you having a review meeting with your managers, you have to put it down in the revision history or document control page.
And as you said, you have the emails as proof to show that these are the changes that they have been requested, right? And
Only
then
proof.
in some places you can do it right away, in the document itself.
So
Where
the best approach, the best approach is when your document is complete, whatever review they have done with you, you simply put it down in the revision history. You really don't need to send them email to verify that this is what we've discussed. You don't need to do that. You will only annoy them. Why? Because they would simply tell you, okay, you do this document. Once you're going for review and sign off, you have to send it to us, and we have to reread it. And if there's something which is missing, there's something which we did not agree upon, there's something we have conflict on, we'll let you know. And you're not sending them for approval on the last day. You need to make sure that once your document is going to be ready, the final due date is going to come before that, at least 2 weeks before that. You share this copy with everyone who's going to review it or sign it off, and when they read it, they will take 3-4 days minimum, and they will definitely read it line by line. Because if they don't do it and they sign it off and approve it, and IT team design it as is, this is not my headache. This is the headache of the reviewers and sign off people. Why didn't they catch it when it was mentioned in the document? So at that point of time, they're going to email you back, replying to your email where you sent this FRD. They will email you back, I sign off to current functionality. So that email you need to save. But if I keep on asking them on every single thing that this is what we discussed, can you approve it or can you email me back, they will just get annoyed. So there is a right time, and right time is when you are going to get review and sign off approvals from them. They have to email you, they have to tell you if they agree or if they don't agree. And if they don't agree, then they will highlight the areas and they will let you know that this is what we did not agree upon. So you can set up a meeting with them and clarify further with them that what is that you want me to do. And then eventually once that is taken care of, you can get sign off and approval again from them. So that email is important, that last email, sign off approval email. And any other discussions which you have with them, you can simply put them on revision history part.
Imran.
Yes, Anil.
I just want to ask your help. Like user stories, the confidence is high. Probably you can say, I can say like 80% or so. Want to get the same confidence with the whole documentation that you are trying to help us and gone through today. How do I get that?
I'm sending you a sample work. You guys need to work on it. I told you yesterday.
What I meant was the titles part of it. For example, when you explained about user story specification, the user ID number, user ID, user story name, the title, description, then the acceptance criteria, output. this is pretty much straightforward and it directly went into the subconscious mind. But I'm just trying to do the same with the BRD, FRD here. Like what you said, when you started, you had the first thing was to ask the start with RAID and scope. So like that, do we have a template or things to put into our subconscious?
I showed you this BRD and FRD, and I showed you first page which have a content table of content. So if this question comes in, let's suppose it interview that tell me what are table of contents. You simply have to start from first one: executive summary, introduction, project scope, which have in scope, out of scope. Okay, risk, assumption, dependencies, and constraint, and then high-level business requirements, and then sign-off approval people. If it is FRD, then again same thing: executive summary, introduction, scope, in scope, out of scope, risk, assumption, dependencies, and constraints, architecture diagram. That is the only addition. Process flow or architecture diagram or use cases or UMLs, whatever process flow you're using, simply mention that, and then directly go to detailed function requirement, non-function requirements, and then appendix section, reviewer, sign off, approval. Same way you have user stories, same way this have a template as well. But as I said, you will be given with this template by your manager. Pretty much every organization is going to use these contents. They might have something different, but apart from this, but whatever right now I'm showing you, that is the core that is going to be part of every single product, every single application. Again, starting from executive summary, introduction, scope of the project, risk, assumption, dependencies, and constraints, high-level business requirements, appendix section, reviewer, sign-off, approvers. If it is FRD, same thing: executive summary, introduction, scope of the project, risk, assumption, dependencies, and constraints. In FRD, you will have process flows or use cases or process flows, and then detailed function requirement, then non-function requirement, then appendix, reviewer, sign off, approver. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the assignment I'm going to give you. It's a fictional customer request. We have a need to replace the aging signage application. Basically is for signboards, which basically used by Department of Correction, Florida Department of Correction, and they want to replace this old application with a new application, and they are highlighting some features they want. What they want us to do is, please review the fictional request form of customer below and complete a work sample. The work sample will be in two parts. Part 1, complete the technology proposal initial intake form. Assume that it meets both requirements for technology project. Don't worry about this. Part 2, PowerPoint presentation not to exceed 15 minutes that present the proposal to the customer, that demonstrate your understanding of their request and highlights following thing: major goal of the request, all known business requirement, what is the type of data which will be utilized in this application, a process flow diagram for this process, for this application, anything that might be out of scope, a tactical plan for how to move forward with defining the detailed requirement and designing. Please complete as much as of the intake from possible form as possible from the available information. The work sample will be reviewed by the selection team. This is the actual project. This is the actual casework which I got from the interview, one of the interviewers. This is the request. You guys read it, and then you feel if you want to design a business proposal document or simply a presentation, PowerPoint presentation, which will have all these things. I'm sending this to you right now. You guys have till your BA lecture is complete, so around 5 to 8 more days, and I don't want you to start doing it right now because tomorrow's lecture would be needed to finish it. So once you are done with tomorrow's lecture, then you can start working on it. Sonam, what's your email ID?
This one, the first one.
Sonam chat.
Yeah.
The speed is your BA2.
Imran, are there anybody in the team that who's already in the project and attending the lecture, or are we all on the same boat?
I'm sorry.
In our team right now that we are taking the training from you, is there anybody who is already in the project and then taking this course, or
No.
everybody
Most
is
of
still
you are
taking the course
new.
and then looking for a
Most of
project?
you are new. Couple of people are already in marketing. They're having their interviews going on, so they just wanted to attend this session.
Okay. So question, Imran. So most of the activities you're giving are individual activities, correct?
Yes, individual.
So keeping the project environment in place, will there be any group activity as well?
Yes, I'll give you that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm sending you my BRD, FRD test case and test plan. You guys can review that as well. And I'm sending you day 3 notes. You guys can check that.
On a lighter side, Imran, just the confidentiality aspect of the document. Barclays, you should check the document, right? Most of the people get afraid to say such kind of document. Is that okay? I'm just asking, I'm curious.
Yeah, I know. You should not be doing this at all. Yeah, if you're able to get a printed copy of it, then you can scan it from your own personal laptop and then share with people, but try not to do this as well. My problem is that I have to teach you, so I have to show you something.
I understand. I'm really appreciative of that fact because I've been a part of several contracts that we are not allowed to take anything.
I know.
And
Yeah, you can't.
several millions of dollars of insurance that we put in for errors and omissions.
Yes. When you join their project, they will, ask you to sign on different non-compete, non-disclosure, all these. So if you are not following that, they can sue you as well. Okay,
Yes,
so
we can
this
sue
is the so I'm sending you, give me 1 second, I'm sending you the third one, and see. So this is have a sample BRD, sample SRS template, and the actual one of the BRD of actual project, healthcare project. You can also review these. This is your
Imran, if there is a product requirement document, PRD, what would be the difference?